So one of the goals of my channel is to do theological triage, which means ranking different doctrines, and then also to do theological retrieval, meaning wanting to learn more from church history, engage, draw from historical theology, as we're trying to do theology today. These are two of the goals, and they fit together, actually, and I think they're really needed right now as a lot of people are rethinking things and so forth.
So I guess I'm just a little confused on how Gavin is arriving at his conclusions. He says he's concerned about this triage or this urgency with which we should respond to hideous error, I guess. And he says it's important that we keep church history in mind. But Gavin, are you doing this? Look, from what I know in church history, in the earliest period, we find the Orthodox saying that they believe in the resurrection of the just and the kingdom on earth. And there were Gnostic heretics being confused for Christians, but they were not. And the reason we know they're not is because they denied the resurrection of the just and the kingdom on earth. These came together as a package. There was no group that taught a mystical kingdom now, but a bodily resurrection at the end of the kingdom. That doesn't come along until Origen. There was no group in the earliest period, like, say, in Justin and Irenaeus's day, and even Tertullian. In that period there was no group teaching a mystical kingdom and yet a bodily resurrection of the flesh at the end of the kingdom. That didn't exist yet. That's a later idea introduced by Origen, Eusebius, and so forth. So I don't see any sincere attempt by Gavin here at paying close attention to the triage as held by the earliest church, the apologists. He's ignoring their sentiments on this. Irenaeus would specifically point out that the resurrection of the just is important to maintain. Gavin denies that. He teaches a single universal resurrection at the end of the kingdom. So I just have a hard time taking Gavin seriously here.
Modern evangelical Christians tend to assume a certain view of these things that is either has zero historical precedent or is kind of largely at variance with church history. I've said this many times. If you gave the church fathers the Left Behind series, they would not recognize a lot of what is going on in those books. Throughout church history, many Christians believe that some of these eschatological events, eschatology means the doctrine of the last things or the end times, many of these eschatological events had already happened. To do theological retrieval, meaning wanting to learn more from church history, engage, draw from historical theology.
You know, the earliest church was premillennial, but futurist. They were exclusively futurist. And the reason I say that is because the preterist type ideas that existed in the earliest times were Gnostic ideas. And they were repudiated by the early church. As for historicism, that didn't exist until the time of the Reformation. It just didn't exist in the early church.